Dr. Viv is a dynamic leader, mentor, and pastor. Passionate to inspire every person to fulfill their God-given plan and purpose. We trust you will be impacted by the following message.
Please write that down. Worship is synonymous to sacrifice. It's all about sacrifice. You can't say I'm a worshiper and sacrifice nothing. Because the whole essence of it, let's go back to biblical times. When you came into the house of God, from the outer court, you began to bring your sacrifice. You didn't come empty-handed. You brought in your goat, or you brought in your ram, or you brought in your pigeon, whatever your affordability and your clan was. You brought in something to indicate that you're not coming empty-handed. You're coming to worship. You're coming to offer. So that means that worship is synonymous to offerings. Got to offer something. So they brought in something to worship God with. And then from there, it went into the inner court and then so on and so forth. But those who were worshippers who recognized that you have to sacrifice something. So that means that true worship is all about sacrifice. So I ask you, brethren, what have you been sacrificing? What have you sacrificed? Sometimes the sacrifice may be physical, it may be emotional, it may be just that letting go of yourself, because it costs. It always costs. Worship always costs. That's why that wonderful woman, remember her, with alabaster oil? Can the gospel be preached without her? Of course not. You can't talk about offerings, you can't talk about sacrifice without that woman who took a whole year's wage. She put it in a jar and broke it. Talk about wastage. Carnal mindedness now. We're talking about carnality, because the carnal mind, which is what happened, said you wasted this. Not even as if you invested it. But she knew better, didn't she? She knew she was investing it in life everlasting. Worship is synonymous to sacrifice. You can't get around that. For some of us, it is sacrificing our hands being lifted up. Sometimes it's painful. When we say lift your hands unto God and you're thinking it's quite painful, I want to put my hand. Sometimes it's clapping. Have you ever clapped and your hands are hurting you? I've clapped sometimes and up in the front here and my hands are aching me. And I tell myself, keep clapping because at least you have hands. Keep clapping, give that clap offering to God. That's when we say give him a clap offering. It's an offering. Give him a thanks offering. It's open up your mouth. You know, the Bible speaks about sacrifices, which is of our lips in Hebrews 13. So we are constantly offering unto God sacrifices. So when you sing unto God, so those of us who lead worship, you must know it's sacrificial. I may not feel comfortable, or I don't feel my 100%. It's a sacrifice. It's supposed to cost you something. Sometimes the preacher doesn't want to talk to anybody. It costs to be consistently available and to be open up your vessel to be used when sometimes you don't want to be used. You want to just rest. Or sometimes there's things happening for you. So sometimes somebody say, well, I don't feel like I'm able to minister because I'm not perfectly aligned. Hello, if you were to be perfectly aligned, you would do nothing. But you come and you present yourself. You put that rubbish to one side. You bin it. Someone said bin it. You tell yourself it's not relevant to the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's bigger than me, bigger than how I feel. Bin that thing. I'm a living sacrifice. Who's ever had things and you had to minister to somebody else? That's why it's a sacrifice. It costs you something. Can we thank God that he's able to cost us? Because if he don't cost us nothing, we can't. It's not a sacrifice. It's a little casual. You get the point. If it costs you nothing, it's not a sacrifice. And worship is all about. So he says, I beseech you, brethren, because he knows it's going to cost us. I beg you by the mercies of God, please present your body. Present your temple. Another way we can sacrifice, this is our text this morning briefly, is at times even to live right. How many know it costs to live right? But then you're presenting this vessel because the Holy Spirit lives here. You can't cuss like you like to cuss. You can't drink what you want to drink and how you want to drink it and where you want to drink it. Even sometimes you can't eat because you're fasting. You find yourself living a fasted life every Wednesday. And it just happens to be Wednesday that they have that special buy one, get one free deal at work. And then it happens to be the day you just happen to say, I'm going to fast. And then they cook the delicious. And you're like, devil, why couldn't you do this yesterday or tomorrow? So you say to yourself, you know what I'll do? I'll push it. I'll fast tomorrow. No, it's a sacrifice. Because you told God, I'm consecrating Wednesdays. And you don't get to shift it because your stomach is calling for the food and the nice pudding is in front of you. It's a sacrifice. But because if it costs us nothing, then God doesn't receive it. That's an important point. If it costs you nothing, God does not. Say it one more time, please. If it costs me nothing, He doesn't receive it. He doesn't receive cheap offerings. God is not cheap. That might be one of the most important points I've made today. God is not cheap. He doesn't take cheap offerings. Don't go and give God cheap gifts. Sometimes it may cost you, you may get it for reduced price, but it doesn't mean it's cheap. Don't give God no cheap thing. He won't receive it from you. He looks at the price. And that is what David understood when he went to the house of Azura, and he was saying, the man says, you want to offer to God? Have it for free. And David said, I don't give God anything that costs me nothing. He won't receive it. The plague won't stop. If it costs me nothing, that plague I'm trying to sacrifice to get rid of won't shift, because God knows. Listen to me, some problems won't shift unless they cost you something. That's why this kind does not shift or go except by this one is tough. This one needs sacrifice. Not every kind, but this kind. So it's not everything that you have to go sacrifice a huge, offering for. But there are some things. There are some things that will require that heavy load truck full of sacrifice.
Thank you for watching. We believe it has been life-changing. We would love to hear from you, or if you would like Dr. Viv at one of your upcoming events.